About a week ago, Wizard101 put out a teaser that had people hype. And y'all, they're finally added into the game. We finally get to see what the new dual blades look like. And honestly, there's a lot to talk about because in the previous video where I talked about this, we didn't even know what numbers the blades would be. We didn't know what form the blades would be. And they've already even changed these multiple times. So I feel like the vision with these is already changing a lot. So now that we know more about the blades, I want to talk about, how they might be used in PvP and PvE, how this affects the game. I think the big deal is the number, right? Right now, in the current version of Test Realm, these blades are 20% blades for 0 pips. That means just like, any 0 pip single blade, you can now put a 0 pip double blade, but now it's 20%. Now, what's very interesting about this is that last week, they actually went for 25% on both of these. Now, I'm gonna be honest, 25% is barely a drop off from the 35% that a normal treasure card blade is. So the fact that, they updated Test Realm again and lowered it by 5%, that's not really surprising to me. I would have been pretty damn surprised if they kept it as 25, mainly just because of the fact that it's extremely easy to stack up when you have a bunch of 0 pip blades, especially ones that are giving 2, right? If they're high value and they're double blades, at that point, you're starting to set up blade gambits very easily compared to what you would have been able to do before. So the fact that they're 20%, it makes me feel like there's less stackability, with these. I just don't think that you would use this over, maybe just a regular blade if you're just going for a one-shot, which I think is a good thing. I don't think these should be used for one-shot strats. I think they should be used if you're using 2 different schools, or if you're doing a spell that involves getting rid of blades to do more damage. And it's definitely not a coincidence that they did this. They also un-PvP banned Earthquake. Now, this might seem super unrelated, but the fact that they're adding a whole new set of 0 pip blades, it just means that if you want to set up a Storm Scion or a Death Djinn or a Life Oni, these are all blade gambits. If you wanted to do any of these, it just became a lot easier, right? You just pack a bunch of these in side deck and then go crazy with these and just win, right? It would be very hard to keep up with it. But now we still have a way to infinitely remove blades on the defensive end, even though it is for a hefty sum of 6 pips. So is this the most balance we could possibly have when it comes to these? Maybe. I'm really, I'm gonna have to see this in PvP, but what I will say is that these are not as worth as the other triple blades, which is kind of unfortunate. When I saw that these were 25%, my immediate intuition was that, oh, you don't even need to use the triple blades that they currently give you to dual school with. If, for example, right, this Fatal Volt blade, which is a Storm and Death blade, if this were 25% for 0 pips, you would always use this over the alternative that you have right now, which is a Star blade, which, though it's 1 pip, it does give 35 blades. Could you stack a Star blade with a Volt blade? Maybe you could go that far and maybe it's better, but now I just feel like you're just gonna want to get a new pip and not use these, which is kind of unfortunate. One thing that is intriguing to me in this debate about whether a 25 blade versus a 20 blade really matters when it comes to PvP, PvE, all that, is the fact that they added level scaling and stat scaling with this update. To me, what that means is, let's say that you go overboard with damage like right now I am on the Death, right? For the first time in a while, we actually have an incentive to give up our main school stats, especially when we go over the preset limits, and put more resources into maybe a secondary school, maybe Storm on a Death. I have a feeling one thing that will happen in this meta, and this is something that it's just a heads up, our stats are going to get capped a little bit, right? For example, if I were to scale my stats down to what I would do in any sort of raid, any PvP, any challenge mode, it goes from 188 to 178, right? So immediately what this means is, let's say that I have a pet with Death Dealer, I might not want Death Dealer, and in fact, I might actually want Dealer for a secondary school. So there's an incentive to really take away from your main school and put it in your secondary school, in which case that could create a scenario where blades that are slightly weaker are still going to give you mad value, right? Because at the end of the day, you're still buffing to 2 schools. When you take into consideration stat scaling, like in PvP, your opponents are going to be stat scaled just like you. In PvE with raids and upcoming challenge modes, right? They're gonna have a difficulty that's based on, the fact that you can have only so much of damage for your main school. When you think about that, maybe something as simple as a 20 blade for 2 schools could give you more value than, the triple blades that we currently use in live realm to dual school. It's kind of hard to tell until we really see how the games start unfolding, but at the end of the day, you might start seeing all kinds of ways that you can give up your main stats for secondary schools, and at that point, you just have more value out of blading twice with 0 pips, right? That's the whole point. Now, the other thing that is worth pointing out is that this is a treasure card. When they first leaked these, people were wondering if are these going to be like main school spells? Are they going to be treasure cards? I think most people were leaning treasure cards. And I think the big next question for me is, where are these going to be dropped? Now, I have no idea if this is just because it's test ROM and it's too early, but if you go to the crafting section of the PvP vendor, it is not available to be crafted. Unlike the other triple blades that help you dual school, they're also not available in the treasure card shop in the arena either. Weirdly enough, they're also not in the PvP crafter in the raids. Now, this could obviously just be a case of like they haven't added them to the sources they expect them to be. If these are the sources where they're eventually going to end up, that's business as usual. Not too crazy, but it is interesting to note that because they're treasure cards, maybe they're going to be something that we can get dropped, especially from stuff like raids and other challenging instances. If they go that route, it could actually change the economy around these and honestly justify the fact that they even are 0 pips and are pretty powerful to begin with. The one thing that I will say, as excited and hype as I am to use these in Live Realm, I think these are really cool, right? Like, they open up dual school options more than we've ever seen before. As hype as I am, I do think that we need to talk about stacking strategies when they keep adding stuff like this. I'm sure the traps are going to be next, and right now, if you're on Live Realm, you've already seen this. Stacking strategies are crazy. All stacking strategies come down to whether you talk about PvP or PvE being too simple, right? If you have a problem with either, all stacking strategies are just putting a bunch of different buffs inside deck and just setting up a hit as linearly as possible. I think PvP, even with the re-inclusion of Earthquake, still doesn't have enough counters to deal with this, in my opinion. And I think the more different buffs you can put in your side deck in PvE, the more simple it becomes and the easier stuff gets. And while ease is good, I still feel like very often when things become too easy, we see it in the drop rates, and that's just not something I'm a fan of. So there are some potential consequences for these, but I'll be honest, the fact that they're 20% after being nerfed, I feel like there's no way they're going to keep going lower than this. And that means we're looking at what is very realistically the final version that's going to go into Live Realm right here. Now that we know that they're treasure cards, now that we know that they're 20%, what do you guys think of the new dual school blades? Are they OP? Are they good enough? Are you going to use them over the triple blades that we currently use to dual school? These are all the questions, and I really want to know what y'all think about stacking strategies and whether this makes a problem worse or if Earthquake is fine enough to deal with it. As always, drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a sub if you're new, drop a comment, let me know what you guys think. If somebody hasn't told you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. I'll see y'all soon. I look forward to reading all of y'all's comments. Stay awesome, and yeah.